Hello everyone and welcome back. In today's video we are doing piercing horror stories. These are coming from people on TikTok and today's video is specifically based around septums. I am in the feel for septums at the moment. As you can see if you saw my last video, it was all about septums as well. How did all of these fail so incredibly badly every single time? I do not know, but this time it's the people telling their story about what happened to them and how bad things went.
I went to get my nose done, right? I was getting my fucking septum piercing. This shit's leaking. He put the needle in, and he kept saying like, oh shit, and I was like, what the fuck? I felt blood like all right here, bro. Like even like down my shirt. It's like it was blood. Look, it was blood everywhere. He took the needle out, and he was like, that one didn't do good, and I was like, what? And he was like, it went through on this side, but like it was tough to get through on the other side. And when he pushed it through, he said it just kept, like, he said it wasn't a good piercing to keep in.
It's not great if you're sitting there going, oh shit, that doesn't make your client feel safe and comfortable. That like freaks them the hell out. Had this piercer done exactly what he did at the end and said it wasn't in the right spot, like I need to redo it, that would have been fine. It was just like the oh shit, freak your client out first and then tell them like what's happening. Don't do that, because that is going to certainly make your client just leave because they're like, I don't trust you for a second.
How does septum go wrong? I stopped recording because I wanted to get home and like clean myself up. But basically I went in there, you know, like, he was cool. He acted like, you know, he knew what he was doing and shit. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm finna get this piercing. So he had me sitting in this chair that was, like, uneven. So I was already sitting, like, weird. And I wasn't really comfortable. So.
Well, not great.
He pushed a little clamp in. Y'all, my nose is still, like, it's bleeding just a little bit. It's still bleeding a little bit. And it's been like a couple hours. But
I will just quickly say that the bleeding is normal. You definitely need to put pressure on that area to really make the bleeding stop. It's not just going to stop, because basically if it went through, you've got an open wound, an open tunnel directly through your nose. So there is going to be blood. When the needle goes through and the jewelry goes in, it sort of holds the space so that there can't be very much blood. Sometimes no blood, sometimes just a little bit of blood. It like takes up that space. Whereas when you don't put anything in there, that's just open and the blood is just going to pour out. So it looks like so much blood. It looks insane and definitely freaks people out when they see how much blood. A lot of blood must be bad. Not the case. It's really not that bad. It will stop. It looks terrible and it freaks people the hell out when they don't know what's going on. Even learning that was a part of training. You needed to learn what happens when a needle comes out. So that was something that we had to do. The person who was training me didn't explain it to me so that they saw my reaction and what I did. And I did freak out because I was like, fuck, that's a lot of blood. Like, what do we do? And then she explained everything to me. So it's like, once you understand, it's like, okay, it's just going to bleed a lot. They're not dying. It's not the end of the world.
He puts the needle in or whatever, and he's like forcing it, and it's like, I'm in pain. I'm over here like, oh my God.
Not good either.
So then he takes it out, and he's like, that didn't go good or whatever. So he continues to like try to put the piercing, the actual like jewelry in. He couldn't get that in. So what he did have in, like half of it went in.
Oh, no.
He took it out, and he told me that they don't do refunds. Like, it's posted. So I already knew in my mind that I wasn't getting a refund.
So bad.
He was like, he's so sorry. He don't know what went wrong and stuff like that. And I was like, you know, it's okay, because I'm just over here freaking out. But I was like, I'm not going to be mean or nothing, because, you know, I don't know what went wrong either. So he was like, he's going to write my name down and stuff, and I can come back in 3 weeks and get the same piercing done again, or I can get anything of my choice, you know, without a charge again or what. I was like, the fuck? Why would you charge me even if I did come back? Like, I'm not coming back, period. So that's really what happened. Piercing failed. I didn't get a refund. And now I'm probably never getting a piercing again in my life.
Oh no, see, this sort of thing happens and it's awful. That really sucks. I know I was defending the piercer just before saying, oh, so he explained it though, so it was good. But it sounded like he explained it much too late. Like, it was explained once. He'd already done the needle through, lost the connection there, and then was trying to shove that jewelry through. So that was already a big no. And obviously wasn't explaining that to this poor girl because she's sitting here going, I don't know what went wrong, then doesn't even get a refund. It was a PSO fucked up. It had nothing to do with the client. Everything that happened was under the control of the piercer. To not then give this girl a refund is ridiculous. Like, I hate that. And now she never wants to get a piercing again because she's had such a terrible experience, which is so fair. I wouldn't want to either. And I would never trust a piercer again either. I hate the bad name some people give this industry because they're not doing the right thing. Not giving a refund when someone's gone through that is just awful. I hate that. She should have had the choice. Do you want to come back and get the piercing, or do you want a refund? And she would have taken the refund choice. And they probably knew that. And that's probably why they have a no refund policy, because they do dodgy shit like this. Like, I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. So sorry that happened to you. That really sucks. And that's so fucking dodgy. I do apologize for even thinking to defend that piercer for a second and ruined her experience to ever want to get a piercing again. That is awful. I hate that. I'm so angry and wish I could give this girl a hug because that shouldn't be how it went for her.
You know what's funny is that this filter is what inspired me to get a septum. And I have one, and she's just a little tiny, like, little dude up here because my piercer pierced my piercing way too high at my nose. I'm just gonna show you my nose real quick. So it's like, it's really high up. And I honestly don't know the gauge. So whenever I go in to get it switched out, I'm gonna see if I can get a longer one, but yeah, this is, you can only see if I go like this. It's fine, not like I got a piercing to show it off or anything.
I mean, it's funny, but it's also not, because that honestly sucks that you had to go through that. That would have been so goddamn painful. To have a septum piercing not go through the sweet spot, which is such a thin piece of tissue that the needle literally just glides through like butter. It is so nice to pierce, but to have it done up that high through like straight up cartilage would have been so painful. And like, as a piercer piercing it, they would have felt how hard it was to get through the area that they did go through, and surely they would have known that wasn't right. But the thing is, this happens far too often to the point where it's like, I just don't know how piercers don't realize that that isn't even the right spot for a septum piercing. Like, do you know where a septum piercing goes? Don't think you do. Well, you clearly don't, because you would have felt it was wrong. You would have seen it was wrong. You also would have had to get fucking way up in there to like perform that piercing. I don't get it. And like, I guess people are sort of saying, what gauge is your septum? Maybe they're saying, oh, cute. What is that? How do I get mine to look like that? Because mine doesn't. It's sitting very dainty, very cute, which isn't the gauge, by the way. I think they're thinking of like the size of the actual piece of jewelry. She would be wearing quite a large piece of jewelry in there so that it does hang down. It might be a 10, it might be a 12 millimeter. You can definitely achieve this with a septum piercing that is pierced in the correct spot, because you just put a small piece of jewelry in there so it just hangs very dainty right at the edge there. It is possible to do this, so by no means do we need to get our septums pierced up high in order to do that. Basically, you just want to get a smaller size, nothing to do with the gauge. You can keep the gauge the same as what you have. You basically just want to downsize to something quite small, probably around a 6 millimeter should work. You will also find that 6 millimeter septum like horseshoes are quite, I mean, they're not just septum horseshoes, but in terms of talking about the septum, the balls are quite close together. And I think people think like, I can't get that look of them sitting how hers sits, but you can get them opened. So if you go to a piercer, or even if you buy the tool online, I will show, it's like literally a ring opener. You can use this and it like stretches the jewelry open. You can just like stretch it open gradually so you can make sure you get it to the opening that you like the look of. And you can also get tools that are ring closers so they close up the ring as well in case you want to move between them. So you could get both of these, or you could just go to a piercer. That essentially just moves it into a position that like you like the look of, or you like the feel of as well. Because I guess sometimes I think people think when they've got a small horseshoe in there that they can't flip it up because it's too close together. The balls are too close together, but they don't have to be. You can open them.
I'm going to try to be as quick as possible, but if you are thinking of getting a piercing, more specifically a septum, here are the things to look out for, because I got mine pierced today and I got it pierced completely wrong, and I didn't know until hours later when I got home and I asked a friend that had a septum if these things were normal. And I didn't notice at the time that I was in the shop because I was too nervous and too scared to get the piercing. So
totally fair. that's something that I definitely find a lot of people, especially in like these videos of piercings going wrong, you can tell the person doesn't really want to say anything, but they're kind of like, oh, like, this doesn't seem right. They're uncomfortable. They're already scared. How about don't make them then uncomfortable and like too scared to ask the person who they've put their trust in if something's going wrong. Like, that is not cool. That is not on. I hate it, and I'm really sorry if anyone's had to go through that.
Let's start. So number one, as you can see, the piercing, it does not look how it's supposed to look. It's like forward. When I move it down, it goes back up by itself. Yep, by itself. When you look from it down here,
What?
it's very crooked.
It's like pierced at an insane angle, and that's why it's like moving forward every single time.
It just moves by itself.
It's really bad.
Those were the first two things. Second thing is the placement. You see where it is? It's not supposed to be there.
That
And I'll
angle
show you
is
where it's supposed to
hectic.
be in a minute. And then this one is a lot in a different spot. Therefore, crooked once again.
Neither of which have gone through the right spot.
Another thing I'd like to mention, it was very painful. It's not supposed to be that painful. They probably pierced my cartilage when they did this piercing, and they're not supposed to do that. They didn't sanitize my nose. I didn't see them sanitize anything, but they probably did that before I got there. That's fine, but they didn't sanitize my nose. Like, that's for sure. I am 100% certain of that. They didn't tell me the process of it or anything. They didn't take a long time looking at my nose. He just felt for a little bit. Like, Mark.
Sometimes I feel like when piercers do that, when they do the feel, yes, a lot of people do it, but I feel like sometimes piercers do it just to like, this is like what you're supposed to do. So like, let's just like pretend like it looks like I'm doing something like technical that, not that it's technical, but something that is a part of the procedure of piercing septum. But doing that doesn't help you perform the piercing. That's just to help you feel exactly where that person's sweet spot is, to make sure you are going through the right spot. But by doing it and then piercing it in a different spot, it makes that process of even doing that completely obsolete. What was the point?
It twice, like with a little thing that holds your nose, and then he was like, this is gonna sting a little. 3, 2, 1. He pierced it. Literally that fast. It was not like he took his time to check that it was in the right placement. That did not happen. And again, I was too nervous and too scared to say anything. Now I'm gonna show what it's supposed to look like now that you've seen how it looks wrong. How it's supposed to look like. Another example of how it's supposed to look like. Where mine is pierced.
Oh,
How it's supposed to look like from the bottom. How mine looks like from the bottom. How it's supposed to look like from the front. How mine looks like in the front when adjusted. Not normally, because it looks forward
yeah.
when it's normal. Moral of the story is don't do things on impulse. Really research before you get a piercing done. And I'm gonna go in tomorrow to either get it re-pierced or get a refund.
Good.
Let me know if you want an update.
I think that's another thing that piercers sort of prey on, is the fact that like a person doesn't know what the piercing is supposed to look like. So like, oh yeah, that'll do. I got it so drilled into me when I was training that like, if something isn't right, you need to fix that shit. You're not letting a person walk out of here with it looking like dog shit, basically. Like, I would be in so much strife if I were to let someone walk out with a piercing that wasn't perfect. I am so glad that that is how I was trained. Yes, it was brutal and ruthless, but it was like, there'll be hell to pay if that isn't done perfectly, because at the end of the day, it's a bad look for your shop, your studio. Same thing with tattoos. Like, if you're gonna let someone walk out with something wrong with it, or if it's not been done properly and it's going to fall out due to your like negligence, people are going to come back and complain, or they're going to complain to their friends and tell people what a dog shit shop you have. You can't let someone leave with it not being perfect. Word travels, like people will be like, this is where I got it done, don't ever get yours done there because it looks like shit, or like, this is the piercer that I got it done by and it like is terrible. Your name and your shop's name is now on that piercing, and if it isn't done perfectly, they cannot go out into the world with that. You're on display then. If it looks great, people will be like, oh, where did you get that done? And you'll tell them and they'll be like, great, I'll go there because that looks great and I want to get one of those. Like, that's a very common thing that happens. Whereas if someone knows that it doesn't look right or it looks weird and they ask you, where'd you get it done? They find out and they're like, I'm absolutely never going there. Gotta be very careful. Thank you so much for watching this video. Which one did you think was the worst? I feel so bad for these people. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a like down below and subscribe if you're new here, and I'll be back very soon. Bye.